if I keep falling. Never falling 6 feet deep. For real, G, I'ma fulfill my dream. The mind activation, react like I'm facing time. Like for real, G, I'ma fulfill my dream. If I keep falling, never falling 6 feet deep. For real, G, I'ma fulfill my dream. The mind activation, react like I'm facing time. Like for real, G, I'ma fulfill my dream.
Yeah, fuck your handouts, we here to stand out. Told mama your youngest child got a plan, damn. God's will, I'm about to shine now. No chill, I rush in like blow. Hit you with that ill style, no denial. Since a youngin' marching to my own beat. Never frontin', kept the loyal, overcoming the heat. Dedicated since the soil, learned to walk on my feet. Doctor said I'd have my limits, I accept no defeat.
This Slade Sports Squad and Rocky Mountain Sports Report Denver Broncos pregame show is sponsored by Cajun 180 Seasonings. Straight from the heart of Cajun country in South Louisiana, these blends and seasonings contain no MSG, no iodine, no fillers, and are certified Cajun. They are non-GMO, and they are wheat and gluten-free. With a few easy clicks, you can learn more about how these authentic Cajun blends could enhance your cooking in the kitchen. Follow them at Cajun 180 on Facebook and Instagram. From an all-purpose seasoning to a seafood boil and everything in between, Cajun 180 is sure to have a flavor for you. Check out their full lineup of clean, healthy products today at Cajun180.com. I personally use the Cajun 180 products in my kitchen on a regular basis, and I stand behind these products. On game day, we all want a winner on our side, so you might as well have a winner in the kitchen as well. Cajun 180 products are award-winning championship blends. So head on over to the Cajun 180 website and use promo code SLADE180 to receive a discount. All right. Thanks to Cajun 180 down in Louisiana, New Iberia, Louisiana. Thank you very much for sponsoring this show. Boy, it's a different show than last week, you know. I think most of us at the Rocky Mountain Sports Report had predicted a Bronco loss, so we're all going to be eating a little bit of crow this week, but I am more than happy to eat that crow. So,
yeah, man, I'm excited about the win. Like Dave just mentioned, I think all the writers over here at Rocky Mountain Sports Report predicted a loss, a close loss, but we all predicted a loss. We're eating some crow, but like Dave said, best crow we could eat, best tasting crow you could ever eat.
Dang,
we're super excited for the Broncos win, guys. Way to go, Broncos country, and way to go, Broncos for putting together a great game plan, man. It was great. What are your thoughts on that game plan, Dave?
Oh, I think it was great. It's a perfect balance, you know, and I think all of us, because we did our write-ups and our predictions to the score, and the key that everybody put in there is we had to run the ball to have a chance to beat the Dolphins. You know, but we all thought we're not going to do it because we haven't seen it, you know. So, but, you know, they came out at first. They ran a couple balls right up the middle, and I said, well, this looks like the same old thing, you know. Then on the next play, we throw an interception, and I'm like, here we go again. But we settled down, you know. I think Lindsey Phillips breaking that 20-yard run is what really got the running game going. Philip Lindsay. I always call him Lindsey Phillip because I got a daughter named Lindsay. So I'm just going to call him Phil from now on. So, because I do it every time. But, yeah, here's another comment here. It says, I'll eat crow like this. Yes, loved it. Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, we made it interesting down the stretch, you know. So anybody out there, you know, shoot us your comments, you know, what you thought worked for the Broncos in the game. What's your thoughts on the game plan that was implemented today?
Yeah, so just to kind of highlight what you were saying, after that first drive, I was definitely feeling a little nervous. We came out, ran it straight up the gut a few times, and then we let that interception. Like you said, it was a pretty stagnant offense, kind of similar to what we've been seeing the last few weeks. Same game plan. At the beginning of the game, we were still lining up in that awkward set with three wide receivers, one tight end. and we've been failing in that scheme this entire season. Like Locke has not been successful. He fails to be able to set his protections correctly there. We're not running it effectively out of that scheme either. So after that run with Phil, we've seen him switch their entire offensive game plan. We seen 2 tight ends on the field pretty much the rest of the game, and we've seen how wonderful that worked. We opened up tons of lanes for Gordon and Lindsey. We ran the ball. We ran the rock, as a lot of our fans like to say. Ran that rock. We ran it right down the throats. Got quite a few big chunk plays. The pull plays were what was really working. Lloyd Cushenberry, Garrett Bowles, Dalton Reiser, they really need some kudos. Hopefully they get that game ball.
Yeah,
I mean, they were out there mauling today. Several times we've seen the smaller linebackers or safeties come up. I think Garrett Bowles had the best hit of the night when he ran over Miami safety.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love that. I love when the big guys, get the replays, and the announcers point them out. But Bowles did a great job. He's been doing a great job all year. I think he's become a leader on that offense. You even saw him down there in the end zone dancing with Melvin Gordon. So
it's man.
Yeah, it's sort of nice to do that. Here's an interesting comment. It says, I heard a comment saying that we played into Locke's weaknesses. Did we play into his weaknesses, or did we play to avoid his weaknesses?
Oh no! So it was surprisingly it was my Rocky Mountain Sports Report comment that posted it out there. That was me saying that.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So credit to me. I'm just kidding. No, definitely played into his weaknesses. We played into his flaws. So what we did essentially when we changed up the game plan and put the 2 tight ends on the field, we pretty much played into a game plan where the protections were already set for Locke. He didn't have to stand at the line of scrimmage. He knew that he had the extra blocker in the tight end, whether it's a chip or him staying back. We also seen quite a few plays where Jeremy Cox was actually on the field as well. Same thing, chip blocks that help set up the run game. That's when we were able to get those big chunks between the guard and center when we seen Cox on the field. Well, Cox and Fumagalli both lined up in the fullback slot quite a few times, and that's when we were seeing those big chunks that were not the pull plays. So definitely, when we changed our scheme, what we did is we took the pressure off of Locke to make the reads at the line of scrimmage. We also played into our offensive strength. We're maulers. We're not built for this weird zone scheme that three wide receiver set calls for, and it's just terrible when we run out of that set. So essentially what we did is we took the pressure off of Locke to make the reads. The protections were set up already, which gave Locke more time in the pocket. In the entire second quarter on, we seen more throws where Locke was planting that back foot and leaning into his throws. So a lot of people don't understand as fans that when a quarterback needs his base set. Think about it like this: how good is a pitcher for the Rockies or any MLB team if they're not planning when they go to throw? They're not planning that initial foot. You'll see them take the step back and lean into their throws. They're planning that back foot. It carries that momentum. So definitely with this new scheme, it opened up more protection for him to be able to plant that foot. So we played into his flaws. Definitely, we didn't see him. We've seen a couple times where he was trying to hawk the ball like 30 yards down the field and didn't work.
Right.
But overall, he played a clean game because the game plan protected him.
He did. He played a very clean game with the exception of that horrible pass where he just locked in on his receiver on the third play of the game. So, but he played really good. I think he still struggles with the long ball. That's something he's going to have to work on is his accuracy, hope. So we got a comment here from Sean Slade. He's usually the one giving us our funny comments, but he's going to be serious now. Defense kept it close so that we didn't have to go away from the run right away, which is true. It allowed us to stay with the run. And Locke even said it in his post-game press conference. He said, sometimes we don't want to throw as much as we do, but when we get behind, you have to increase how much you pass. So 3-0 is the lifeblood of this offense, and he is. The polling was very good. And Plius, what a certified Cajun. How can I become certified Cajun? I don't know. I would have to check with my buddy Dave Hewlin down in Louisiana what certified Cajun is, but apparently it's something for spices and stuff down there. So
I think if you want to be a certified Cajun, let's start off by maybe visiting our sponsor's website and getting some good old spices. I think
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
good start, Sean. Let's start there, and then if it works, get back to me.
Right. So, and I agree with him. Lindsey Phillip is really the lifeblood of that offense. You know, he always seems to have that big play that really sparks the offense. You know, and gets people going. Another one, Ty Berry here. How about that clutch play by Simmons? That was huge because that was going to be a touchdown. If Simmons does not get in there, because Parker he was inside, I think it was Callahan on the coverage, and he had the inside on him, so that ball was coming right into his bread basket. So it's probably going to be a tied game and us going possibly into overtime. So huge play.
Yeah.
So
definitely want to highlight Simmons on that. He played the center field like a free safety should. He stayed back. He didn't roam away from where his coverage zone was. He stayed there, watched the quarterback's eyes, and he made a great play. I also kind of, just to be a funny guy, I got to throw this out there. Ryan Fitzpatrick locked it. We seen Drew Lock do the same thing last week against the Raiders, stood down the receiver the entire time and hawked it up. So kudos for Justin Simmons watching some game tape from last week and taking a play out of there, man. But great center field by Justin. He had a great game. Unfortunately, he had that first pick taken away as well. He potentially had 2 picks today.
right.
We had that one negated by a flag. So
yeah, definitely. So,
speaking of defense, real quick,
if you ask me, that was not pass interference on
No.
Bouye. He got 2 tic-tac calls thrown on him today. So
yeah, definitely. While we're speaking of AJ Bouye, I do want to highlight him as he played okay today, but consistently we've seen him be a weakness in our secondary. He's getting picked on a lot. And I think if we're going to continue to go with this kind of scheme that we're running now with Vixen and more pressure, like 6-7 rushers at a time, it's going to rely for us to rely more on that man coverage. AJ Bouye has always been type of a zone corner. He struggles in man-to-man. I mean, we've seen him target him today. We've seen, the couple of those pass interference calls. He got away with a holding, and then he also allowed that touchdown. I think he's got to tighten it up. He's got to tighten it up for sure if we're going to continue to run this scheme.
And he does, and he struggled with injury, and maybe that's part of it. But like you highlighted earlier when we were all talking during the game, Bouye's always come out of a zone scheme defense. Mostly is what he's most comfortable with, and throwing him out there with man coverage and stuff, he sometimes struggles, but I think he's getting a little better. So
yeah, absolutely. He played, like I said, he played a solid game today. I mean, he allowed the touchdown. No one's perfect, so we can't harp on him too much. But if I do see him being a potential weakness as we continue on further down the season. We gotta get with him and get him, up to speed with this man coverage. He's got to be able to effectively press at the line. He can't let Devontae Parker, blew right past him on that touchdown. And Devontae's not the fastest receiver out there. I was a little nervous when I seen Jakeem Grant over there. Grant's got 4.24 speed.
Yeah,
Bouye maybe running a 4.45. If they were going straight line and Tua had some time, that could have led to a disastrous play. But thankfully, it didn't.
Yeah, definitely. So, and it's not going to get any easier next week. The Saints have Emmanuel Sanders. Williams just came back. So, I mean,
and Michael Thomas too.
Yeah, Thomas. And I'll tell you what, Taysom Hill looked good today.
Yeah, he's a dual threat, man. He's definitely going to provide some challenges to us. We haven't. I don't recall us having to play a really strong dual threat quarterback this year off the top of my head, other than Pat Mahomes. But Pat Mahomes has kind of stopped running the ball so much. Only he's. Well, let's not even get into Pat Mahomes, or I'll cry for the next 10 years. But yeah, so Taysom Hill is going to provide some challenges to us, but I think the scheme that we implemented today is going to be a successful scheme for the Saints. I mean, they don't got Drew Brees, who's their traditional quarterback. I mean, if we could apply that much pressure like we did today on Taysom, we're going to force him into mistakes. He's a solid guy, but I think we have the defensive scheme and talent to really put some pressure on him, and hopefully we can. The goal is to keep it low scoring, because let's be honest, our offense, even with this game plan today, is not a high scoring offense. We're not going to be putting up 30, 35 points a game. We're most successful when we're able to run the ball and control the clock.
Right.
So,
And that's usually a Pat Shermer offense, I mean, even in New York, they weren't, lighting up the scoreboard. So, and coupled with our strong defense, though,
yeah,
and if our
definitely.
defense really, can hang in there like we did today. And Taysom Hill, I think he played well today because there was no tape on the guy. Every time the guy would come in, it's always a gimmick play, and 90% of the time he just takes off and runs with the ball. But today, he stood back there. I watched part of the game. I don't know if you watched any of it before the Broncos game, but I just wanted to see what he looked like. And the dude has an arm on him. I mean, he can put that ball in there. He has a strong arm, so it's going to be a challenge.
Definitely, yeah, and it's kind of like the same thing with how we saw Drew Lock last year when we had that real good run with him. No tape makes it hard to game plan against him. Hopefully, we are able to establish some good game film from him from today. And Vic's a defensive mastermind. I mean, he's a great defensive coordinator. We've seen it today. We've seen him change his scheme out of his comfort zone. He loves to live in that zone coverage and apply minimal pressure. But the last 2 weeks we've seen some pretty good defensive pressure. So like I said, let's stick to that. Let's trust our secondary and see what happens. Speaking of the defense, I want to highlight Malik Reed. I know we highlighted him a little bit during our halftime show.
Yeah.
But I mean, the dude balled out today. He even after in the second half, he was getting tackles for losses, putting constant pressure for sure. I also want McTelvin Agim stepped up too. Sly went down. He kind of came. I think he came in a few times here and there after that injury. But McTelvin and Agim, he has a potential to be a stud defensive tackle. We drafted him in the draft this year. He was a little unknown. Not much tape was coming out on him. Not a lot of people were hiding him. So hopefully, maybe Elway found a good draft gem in him. We took him in the last pick of the third round, if my memory serves me right.
Yeah.
So dude's a mauler too. He's a strong guy. So
and more on Malik Reed. He had 6 total tackles. He had 4 solo tackles. He had 1.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Plus he had 3 QB hits. So not even getting the sack, but just putting the pressure on there and most of it came when Tua was in the game. And I think that really was Vic's game plan is we're going to put some pressure on this rookie, and see what he can handle. And we got to him a lot. I think we sacked him 6 or 7 times. Let me see if I can figure out.
I believe it's 6.
Yeah, we had 6 sacks.
Yeah, Malik got in there a couple times. Chubb got in there a couple times. I can't remember who the other couple off the top of my head are.
Deshaun Williams had 2.
Deshaun Williams
represent.
Small school prospect there.
Yeah, and Draymond Jones had a sack as well. So the defensive front 7 played great. And I think another reason, you said it, it's been about 2 weeks now that we've turned the page and we've been blitzing more. And I think that Vic may have seen that the secondary was struggling a little bit, just because we've had injuries and things like that. And he said, we got to get these quarterbacks to get the ball out of their hand quicker because we can't allow them to sit back there, and force our guys to, hold coverage that long. So,
yeah, just to continue on this defense real quick before I answer this question, DeMarcus Walker also needs a pretty good a pat on the back as well. He was playing some pretty he's a smaller guy, and we kicked him inside since we've been so decimated on that front 7. We forced him. He's typically an end, but he was lining up in the DT spot and put in quite a bit of pressure out there today.
Yeah.
He's a smaller guy, but it seemed to be effective. I got to give our big boys up front and just our D line. They were playing well today, even when we weren't blitzing. They were getting some pretty good pressure. So kudos to the defense.
They definitely were. So who's our QB coach? That's Mike Shula. So doesn't seem like they're working with Locke to go through his progressions. And, and I don't know what happens at practice, and I don't know. But even when Locke was hurt, was it last year, and he pretty much was in virtual reality training. And, that was some of the training he was getting at that time was, going through progressions and seeing different defenses and formulating pre-reads and stuff. And I like Sean's last comment there because I think that's part of the problem. Locke does have a lot of confidence in that arm strength. And I think it gets him in trouble at times.
Yeah, absolutely gets him in trouble. So you're absolutely right with what you said about the VR room. So that entire time Drew Lock was on injured reserve, he literally spent the entire time in the film room, in the VR room, studying defenses pre-snap, post-snap, and initializing and identifying where that first read should be.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to this game, I mean, we still seen him have a little bit of struggles with that today, but not as badly as the previous weeks. He was missing his initial read quite often, trying to huck the ball 30 yards down the field into double coverage, and we've seen how successful that was in the previous weeks. But he does have way too much confidence in his arm. That's why we don't see him plant his feet. That's why he's inaccurate.
All right, I agree. Because he's not playing in college anymore.
Nope.
And the windows get a lot smaller in the NFL. In college, you can get away with plays like that, but you can't get away with that in the NFL. No. And for Locke to take that next step, he's going to have to learn that he needs to, work on his mechanics of his footwork. So, and I don't know if Shula is working with him on that or not, and yeah. Unfortunately, we're not down at UC Health Training Center watching what's going on and things like that. But one thing I did notice, when Tua came off after their first touchdown, his I don't know if it's his quarterback coach or his OC, but came over and sat down with him, and they discussed things, and it looked like they were discussing things that he saw on the play and maybe that drive in general. And when Locke comes over to the sideline, he goes over to the bench, he sits there, and nobody comes over and talks to him.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. Yeah, I don't know if it's because I know Pat Shurmur's up in the box. I don't know if Shula's on the field.
Yeah, and I don't know either. Yeah,
he might be up in the box too.
And Shurmur though, I think just moved up to the box recently, and because he had mostly been down on the field, and maybe that came from Vic and said, "Hey, maybe you can see things better from up there." I know Vic, if he had his way, he'd be sitting up in the box too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's
that
what
is
he
one.
Wants to be.
Yeah, that's one thing he said when he first started here was, I'm not used to being down on the field. I like being up in the box, and that's been an adjustment for him today. I think Vic also did a better job of managing the game today.
Absolutely.
So. I saw some potential today, but I'm just going to say this, and you and I talked about it before coming back on here. I know everybody wants to say, and everybody wants to anoint Drew Lock as the future of this franchise, and I don't think we're ready to say that yet. And I think the only way we can say it is if Lock continues to play like this and continues to improve week after week for the rest of this season. He has 6 more games, to go out there and really show what he can do and show that he's learning and show that he's improving. And then maybe the Broncos could step back, say, okay, maybe we'll give you 1 more year and see how it goes. So what are your thoughts on that?
I'm torn on this subject a little bit. So we'll start off by saying I'll start off with saying today was a great game plan. Okay. The game plan played into Lock's flaws. But if I'm gonna be negative Nancy here, we cannot this play calling is not going to be successful long term. It's not. I mean, look at our division. Herbert put up north of 30 points. Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs typically put up north of 30 points, and the Raiders are sitting right about that 30-point mark. They're killing it. I mean, we can't win the game with 20 points. We got to get up. We have to average at least 28 to 32 probably to be successful.
Right.
And with this game plan, I don't see that happening. I just don't. I mean, we can rely on our defense all we want, but until we can put more points up, this is a passing league. It's great to have those run lanes and have an effective running back like we do with Phil and Melvin. Like today was great, but I don't think it can be built for long-term success with the way the game is played today.
And I have to tend to agree with you. And Locke really needs to improve, and he needs to improve on his deep balls, because if people know that he cannot throw deep, I think that people are going to start, pressing those short routes and stuff and sitting on those if they know that he's struggling with the deep throw, because eventually if he can't make it, he's going to stop going there, and he's going to, just start throwing these underneath routes. which I think they work, if we run them and we execute them right. And that like to play with Tim Patrick, I think it was third down or third and 10 or something. And he hit him on like a 8-yard cross route. And then Tim Patrick, took off and ran, I think it was a total of 51 plays or 51 yards on the play. So, and that's the kind of things we need. We got speed. We got Jerry Jeudy, who's very fast,
Great route runner.
Yeah, he is a great route runner, and you need to use that to our advantage, and get him coming and get the ball and let him get yards after catch. That's where he excelled. That's how he excelled in Alabama.
Absolutely.
He wasn't really the deep threat in Alabama. That was Ruggs, Jeudy would just, come across on those crossing routes, and then he would just outrun you. So
yeah. Yeah, the one thing I want to highlight on Drew Lock, and I'm probably going to get a lot of kickback for this. I even after today's game, I'll be honest, I don't see Drew Lock as a long-term answer. I can't. The reason why is he could get all the coaching in the world, but you have to remember when it comes down to mechanics, whether it's throwing mechanics, whether it's footwork, whether we got to remember he's at the pro level now.
Right, it's hard to change at this level.
He started out. He started down in Pee Wee. He learned his throwing motion and his footwork since then, and now he's so many years down the line. It's extremely difficult for a quarterback to change these mechanics in such a short period of time. And NFL stands for not for long. So unfortunately, he's on borrowed time, especially with how great next year's quarterback draft class is appearing to be. I mean, Zach Wilson lit it up. Justin Fields struggled a little bit this week, but still he lights it up all the time. Trevor Lawrence, we already know, probably the certified number 1 pick, probably one of the better quarterback prospects we've seen since Luck. And then who's the one I'm forgetting? Trey Lance, small school guy. I mean, I haven't even began my quarterback breakdown or draft breakdown stuff yet. But just based off the numbers we've seen last year and with the shortened amount of time we've seen these guys play this year because of COVID, I mean, the numbers translate pretty much to what they would have been last year.
Right.
So, I mean, he's on borrowed time, if I'm being honest. I mean, he's got to significantly improve. We got to be able to see him run those 3 receivers successfully.
And it's very hard, like you said, at this level. You've been doing these things for so long. You've developed these bad habits for so long. And when you were down at the lower levels, those bad habits didn't haunt you as much as they do at the NFL level. And it's like Tebow,
Yep.
They said, well, we'll teach him how to throw. You can't really do that at this level. It's just hard to try to take somebody and correct their mechanics. So
mechanics is all coordination, and it's you learn it through repetition. From the amount of time he has since he was drafted to compared to the amount of time he's focused on building these mechanics, the ratio is completely off. So I mean, I'm hopeful. I'm hoping that he can get his footwork under control, and like I said, in the second half he was planting his feet quite often, but it was because of the game plan.
Right.
It was because he had the time. He had set the protections were set for him. It took one responsibility off of him. So he could come out and prove us all wrong. I'm hoping he does. I have a Drew Lock jersey. I went out and bought one right away as soon as we drafted him. I was stoked. I mean, I'm still hoping for a guy, the Denver Broncos for life, but at some point we got to just be real with ourselves.
Right, and we do. If we want to go beyond being a mediocre team, we need consistent quarterback play, and we need good quarterback play. Just average quarterback play isn't going to really cut it in this league anymore. You need somebody who can run a spread offense, and get the ball downfield, because that's the way the league has progressed. And Sean's comment here, Locke reminds me of Favre during his Atlanta years. And it is true, lots of raw talent, but can he be coached up? That waits to be seen. But how long are we patient, with it? So.
Yeah, like I said, it's hard because you see consistent talent come out like this year. Had this draft class not been as strong in the quarterback position, I probably would say we would see him, guarantee you 100% for one more year.
Right.
But with the strength of it, and let's say we've.
All right, looks like Matt just ran into some technical difficulties, so hopefully he'll get get his issues corrected, he may have to jump off and jump back on. So we'll talk about Lock a little bit more. I've been a big proponent, and then the last couple of weeks I've really been down on Drew Lock, and I agree with Matt. I don't think one game, solves his problems. I know there's going to be a lot of people out there that say, well, look what he did. Well, he did, but he does not do it on a consistent basis. He has bad habits that it's very hard. And like Sean says here, can he be coached up? We'll have to see, and that's the problem. How much time do we really want to invest in waiting to see if this guy can ever improve his game? Or do we just say after this year, if we go on and we win, maybe 2-3 more games the rest of the way, do we want to put all of our eggs in one basket with Drew Lock, or do we really want to look at looking to the draft and picking somebody? Broncos Luck, though, will play good, and he'll get us so we end up with the mid-round draft pick. And if we did want to, all right, looks like Matt's back. So it looks like you there, Matt? Can you hear me?
Well, Router decided it was a good idea to do a reset mid-podcast.
All right, hey, at least it wasn't your dog eating the coax cable.
Yeah.
So. All right, yeah, I was just talking about based here on Sean's comments, and can he be coached up, and it waits to be seen. And the thing is, do we really want to invest that time? Do we want to invest another 1 or 2 years, and you just set us back that much further? While we wait to see if Drew Lock can improve. Here's another one: play out his initial contract and draft someone else later on, or play the free agency game. And and that is a valid option. We stick with them. We got a cheap quarterback right now because he's on a rookie contract. If we stick with him through his initial contract and then draft someone, the thing, and I don't think this is a super strong draft class. And correct me if I'm wrong there. I believe this is Scott with Rocky Mountain Sports Report. But, all right.
Now, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right.
Technology changes the world, but it still has its flaws.
Yeah, it definitely does. So we're just talking about this comment here about, maybe let Locke play out his initial contract and draft someone else later on. The way we're going now with our luck, and we're the Broncos, so when we want to lose games so we can position ourselves better to get a better quarterback, we end up going on a streak, and we end up with a mid-round pick. And now, is there really a quarterback there that you really want to pick? And it's not I wouldn't classify this as a super strong draft class. I mean, there's some talent in there, but I don't know if it's super strong, and I don't know what's coming down the road next year either. So,
yeah. So just based off a general analysis of the draft, like I said, I haven't dived too much into the actual scouting of the class yet. So far what I've seen, it's a strong class for quarterbacks. It's going to be hopefully a decent class for tackles. There's the guy out of Alabama, Sewell out of Oregon.
Yeah,
a couple other guys out there. DB class is heavy, but it seems like every year the last draft classes, it's DB heavy. So, I mean, it's really the quarterbacks. But just to kind of get into Scott's King Cole's comment here, I don't think you can do that. It's not a safe game to play. We've been trying to build through free agency the last few seasons, and it's been unsuccessful. We're seeing more of like your star-studded guys not leaving their team; they're getting resigned. So the free agent classes have been subpar in the last few years. And
I don't see us ever landing another Peyton Manning again. That, in my opinion, that was a fluke. So if you start playing the free agency game, 9 times out of 10, you're going to land yourself a Case Keenum or a Joe Flacco. You're not going to land yourself a Peyton Manning.
Yeah, the closest thing that I could think of in the coming years that on close to their contracts are expiring would be Matt Stafford and Matt Ryan. But I don't think I want either one of them in Denver.
No, and I don't either. And people have been throwing Aaron Rodgers' name out there, and I
Yeah,
don't even know
he'll
if
play out his. I think speaking of Rodgers, I don't think he's leaving Green Bay. Yeah, they drafted Love, but I think Love's gonna sit on the bench for at least 2 to 3 years minimum.
right. And I think it really depends on how his and LaFleur's relationship um, develops and grows, because it seems like there has been a little bit of uh,
Yeah, he wanted some
turmoil
receivers.
at times, right? Um, so we'll see how that plays out. But I just don't like playing that game either, because it's a band-aid,
Yeah,
and,
that's
and
what
we
we were
got
doing.
we got to stop putting band-aids on a gapping wound, a gaping wound. We have to find us a quarterback who's going to be able to lead us for the next 10 to 15 years, someone like a Pat Mahomes, or a Russell Wilson, or
Yeah,
someone like that. So we need someone who's going to be able, almost like a dual threat, that can run with their legs, but they can also scramble around, and make plays and things like that. So
yeah, and I mean it's just not safe. It doesn't set you up for success to build through free agency. The best way to build a team is through the draft. You know, we've had two pretty good draft since Chubb's draft. We've had pretty good drafting, so
right,
I'll give Elway his kudos there. But that's the way you successfully build a team for long term success. Usually, when you're building through free agency, you're getting a guy that's already been in the league 4 or 5 years, battled some injuries. It just doesn't set us up for the long game. Yeah, sure, if we want to try to sign a bunch of star-studded, defenders, or try to get a quarterback like Matt Ryan, maybe we see a short-term success 3 year window like we did 2012 to 2015.
right,
But we want, compared to our division, we're seeing Kansas City set themselves up for 10 plus years of successful seasons potentially. We're seeing the
right.
Chargers set themselves up for quite a few years of success.
You know, and
Derek Carr, we'll
I
see.
can even see Carr, being an answer, in Las Vegas. I mean, he has some talent. But we'll see how things go with him and Gruden. But yeah, we definitely have to set ourselves up for long-term success. And playing the free agency game is not the way you do it, because then if you do bring in an Aaron Rodgers or a Matt Ryan or someone like that, and they're here for 2 or 3 years, then they go, and you don't have a plan in place like we didn't have with Peyton Manning. We thought we did, but it wasn't a good one. And then we let Osweiler just walk away, then that really puts you into a bad situation. So,
Yeah. But I will say this. I do think that King Cole here is onto something. If we can hit the 8-8 mark, I do think we give Locke another season, and we're going to try to build through free agency. It's going to be difficult this season, though, because right now I think uh, we had conversations on one of not an article. I think we were just chatting around. You and I talked about the cap room right now. I think we're sitting at between 24 and 26 million for next year.
right,
That with Simmons and Bowles, both free agents, one of them's going to be tagged. If you're going to tag Bowles, he has to get paid as a top 5 tackle. That's north of 18 million.
right.
That's 8 in your entire cap. We're gonna have to
Well,
talk to Vaughn for sure. I think he's gonna have to restructure because you said earlier in this podcast Malik has the potential to take his spot.
and I think he does. And if Vaughn doesn't want to, then the team just doesn't exercise their option, and Vaughn, goes where he wants. So,
Yeah, I mean, if they do want to use free agency to build around Lock, they're gonna have to create that cap room. 3 potential moves. Unfortunately, it's all going to affect defense. AJ Bouye, Jarrell Casey both have 0 dead hits towards the cap next year. Cutting both of them together frees up close to 25 mil. Vaughn's a little north of 20. He has about a 4.5 mil dead cap hit. Whether we trade him or cut him. So just those 3 moves opens up nearly $40 million in cap space. So you'd be sitting
yeah.
at 60, which makes it a possibility to sign retain Bowles and Simmons if that's your game plan. But I don't think we see that unless we hit 8-8.
And here's I think Sean's on to something here, because Elway has been known to be cheap, and he's driven some free agents off because of his negotiating tactics and things like that. And I think players that are free agents, I think John Elway sort of loses or they lose trust in John Elway. John Elway breaks that trust, and you see people, they don't even want to stay. They don't even give the Broncos a chance at that point. And
Yeah.
I'm afraid that, and he's right here, we got Lindsey who could be walking out the door. We got Harris, we got Justin Simmons, Bowles. I mean, it can get pretty bleak around here.
Yeah. Absolutely. And if you think about Elway's just tactics when it comes to our own free agents, I mean, Chris Harris Jr. is the best one I could highlight. Granted, he's on the downside of his career, of course. Dude's put in 10 years for us. And look how we handled this last contract. I think they were off by literally like $1.5 million, like 1.5 mil. It was something really small. And we said, okay, we'll just add that 1.5 million. We'll extend you 1 year. That's it.
Right.
When we could have had him here for 3 years. I mean, the secondary with Chris Harris Jr., Bryce Callahan,
it's
and Bouye, that would have been pretty good. I mean, I would have liked that.
It definitely would have, and that's another one of those things where I think Elway or Chris Harris, didn't trust Elway,
No.
and he said, I don't even want to be here anymore, because and trying to build through free agency. And I see what Scott's saying, but you know what? Players talk in the league. And that's going to make it harder for Elway to sign people to come in here. How's he going to convince them, especially if you don't have a solid quarterback in place, and how are you going to really get people to come in here and buy off on what he's trying to do, especially with the turmoil of ownership and everything else with this team right now?
Yeah, I don't think free agents we're a hot destination. I think even if we had a somewhat successful quarterback in place, I think Elway's burned too many bridges, to be honest. I mean, he's burned the bridges with Chris Harris Jr. Look how Emmanuel Sanders literally quit on us because he couldn't handle his temperament anymore. Sanders took himself out of an actual game and said, "I'm hurt," and sat on the bench.
Yep.
Until he got traded.
Yeah.
So I mean, I do think, like you said, players talk. I don't think with the culture Elway's established here recently, even if there was a big name free agent, and unless we threw the entire checkbook at him, I don't see us as a hot spot for potential free agents. I mean, even look at the most recent one with Phil. We decided to pay Melvin Gordon, even though Lindsey's had several consistent seasons, multiple 1,000 yards rushing seasons.
Right.
I mean, he's been consistent. We wouldn't want to pay him. I mean, I get it. It's all about the RB running back by committee standpoint on offense these days.
Right.
But I mean, he should have paid Phil first. And unfortunately, I think that hurts us. I think right now, if I'm being honest, after the last few weeks, it's looking more and more like Phil may not be here. And I mean, I think it might be on his own accord. I think he loves the Broncos and he loves his hometown, and he's a ride or die, Colorado.
I agree, but
he's been mistreated, man.
He has been mistreated. I think from Elway and from the coaching staff. I just think that. And especially if Fangio and Shermer stay on, for another year, I just don't see Phil staying. I think he's lost faith in this coaching staff. They used him well today, but do we just revert back to what we did against the Raiders, next weekend, and Phil gets 4 touches? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hope not. Let's hope that's not the case. And part of me, I don't know, because Vic poses like he's got a really big backbone, but honestly, he's a pretty complacent guy. I think he'll take Elway's orders and run it. Elway's orders are we paid Melvin, he's our bell cow, get him on the field, and I don't think that doesn't set us up for success.
Right.
It just doesn't. So, I mean, I think it all comes back on Elway. I think he chose to pay Gordon, and unfortunately, since we paid him, what is it, like a little over $8 a year?
$8 a year. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're not going to pay him if you're paying him that much. 4 fumbles though. 4 fumbles. 4 fumbles lost.
$2 million fumble.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's a bargain, man. but I'll tell you what.
For the other teams.
Yeah, you're definitely not going to sign another running back to that value of a contract. And Lindsey's going to feel slighted. He's going to be like, wait a minute, I'm better than the guy. I've been producing longer. I don't go out there and put the ball on the ground. at the way this guy does, And
Yeah.
Lindsey is also a good character in the community. I mean,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Gordon's here, he gets a DUI, and things like that.
And he
So,
tossed up the ball 4 times. No, I'm
right.
just kidding. So,
Let's
I
look at
see.
this one here
That's what I
first,
was
and
getting ready to highlight. Yeah.
yeah.
So it wasn't even shared. I think if we'd seen this consistently throughout the season when Phil's been healthy,
Mm-hmm.
Philip would be like, "Yeah, I'm down to stay. We've got a good running back room. We're splitting the carries. RBC, we could both potentially hit
Right.
6 to 9, maybe even one of us breaks 1,000,
Right.
yard season. I think, but I think we've seen it. Most games that Phil's active, he's actually getting less carries than Melvin for sure. And I get it. Phil is somewhat one-dimensional, sure. I mean, he does need that supporting back. He is poor in pass protection. He's not a receiving back. So,
Right.
but
And that's why I think they brought in the Gordon type, because he can pass block, and he can, catch out of the backfield. So Sean has a question here. Speaking of running backs, where's our fullback? We don't even have a fullback anymore.
no, not a traditional fullback.
No, we don't. So, and you said it earlier, if we're going to run that play, where's Freeman? That's what Royce Freeman is built for, is to run that ball up the middle, and maybe he doesn't drop that ball the way Melvin Gordon does, because that honestly that play could have, if it wasn't for Justin Simmons, I think that play maybe cost us the game, because I think at that point, if you blow a 10-point lead, it's sort of everybody sits there and says, "Oh no, here we go again,"
Yeah,
and then you go into overtime and. Dolphins, get the ball first and drive right down and score. Then, it's lights out. And so.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, fullback, like you said, we don't have a traditional fullback right now.
Yeah.
We're relying on Cox, who's a converted running back. I mean, he did well on that goal line touchdown.
Right.
King Cole is absolutely right. We traded Andy Janovich to Cleveland, I believe, for a 7th-round pick. So bargain for the Browns. I mean, Jano was a beast as a fullback, probably top 5 in the league.
Oh yeah, definitely. So but he just didn't fit into the scheme we were running here.
Yeah. It's kind of funny how we've had to revert back to the scheme that he was effective in a sense. That, like I said, the West Coast offense was built for that, but but they wanted to switch to this weird formation of three receiver sets more than often than not. So he made Jano expendable, which was sad.
Yeah.
He is a great Bronco, man.
So next week we got Saints coming into town. What do you see? Just a look of a distant look on the horizon. I mean, what do you see as what we need to do? More of the same? Do you think?
Yeah,
to beat the Saints.
The game plan has to stay the same, offensive and defensively. I think with Drew being out, it makes it a winnable game. I mean, we could talk about going on a 2-game win streak. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't know. New Orleans defense is lights out, man. They had 7 I think they're top 6 in the league in almost every category.
Yeah, I think they had 7 or 8 sacks today on Ryan. So it was crazy. They just manhandled the Atlanta offensive line, and let me see if I can figure out how many sacks they actually had. But they played an outstanding game. Excuse me. So, and I think that's going to be a test, and it's going to have to be more of the same. We're going to have to, establish that running game. Yeah, they had 8 sacks today against Atlanta. We're going to have to go ahead and we're going to have to establish that running game, and we're going to have to utilize the short passes again.
Got to put the pressure on Hill too.
But yeah, we definitely do. We can't let Hill sit back there, because watching the game, Atlanta wasn't really putting much pressure on him. So the guy was just sitting back there, taking his time finding his target and throwing it. And the guy is very accurate, has a strong arm, So, and here's another comment by Scott that is very true. Better receiving talent with Saints, and elite running back duo as well. Very dangerous offense with Saints. They can score points quick. And I think Matt may have froze up on us again. Either that or he's really good at holding still. So, but yeah, the Saints do. They have a better offense by far than Miami does. Miami wasn't a barn burner of an offense coming into the game. So Denver holding them down and to what we did was it's pretty much falls in line with what they did. I think what the difference was today was the pressure that we put on Tua and sort of took him out of his comfort zone. So I'm going to bump Matt again, see if he can get back in. See if he can. Sorry about that. See if we can get Matt back in here to wrap the show up. But I think next week's going to be a bigger challenge than today was. The Saints are a very, very dangerous football team, like Matt was saying before. Their defense is just they're nasty. They're a very good defense. Unfortunately, my Cajun friend down there, I told him, said, we're enemies now. So till next week's over. So it does not look like Matt's going to make it back in. So anybody got any questions, comments out there? Otherwise, we'll get to the point where we'll wrap it up. Hey, it's good. We didn't mean to be Debbie Downers on a Bronco victory, but we want to try to put it all into perspective. It's fun to watch them win, but there we go. We got Matt back again. So
yeah,
let's see if he unfreezes really quick. We'll give him a second.
All right. Yeah, so definitely, hopefully we don't get kicked off again. But like I said, we're having an outage in the area.
Okay. Yeah, you keep going in and out, Matt. I was just in the process of wrapping this thing out, letting everybody know that, hey, it's a Bronco victory Sunday. We should all be in here celebrating, being happy, but we don't want to be Debbie Downers, but we also, want to paint a picture, that's a little more realistic. We don't want to be like some of these other shows out there that all they want to do is say Bronco, yeah, and they don't want to address the underlying issues that this team has and this organization has. And until some of these changes are made, starting at the top down, I think unfortunately we're going to be we're going to be stuck like this. So we'll see. Wednesday night, and we'll post it when we decide, and we know it's the day before Thanksgiving. So we do our War Room Wednesdays. That's what it's going to be called from now on. It'll be myself, Matt. We'll probably have another guest on there with us. So that'll be Wednesday night. We usually do it at 7:00 on Wednesday night, but we may go ahead and do it a little bit earlier, being that it's Thanksgiving. Or the day before Thanksgiving, night before, so we know people have things that they need to do and get ready and, help get food prepared and prepped and everything. So we'll post it out there. Tune in. A whole smorgasbord. It's not just Bronco-based. We can talk about whatever you guys want on the War Room Wednesdays. We'll talk Broncos because that's what's in season right now, but we have a lot of Bronco news, so we might ask our Bronco insider, John Campbell, our Nuggets insider, John Campbell, to come on and let's talk about some of the recent transactions that have happened with the Denver Nuggets. So, hey, thanks to everybody for joining in with us tonight. Broncos won. We're improved to 4-6 now. Got Saints coming into town. We'll all put our heads together. We'll come up with a plan on how the Broncos can beat the Saints because we'll send that over to the coaches for you guys. So, all right, everybody, have a great night. Have a good week, and we will talk to you Wednesday night. Go Broncos.